Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the beginning of my story. This is my garden in April. We got a late start planting this year. Everything else was planted except for the tomatoes, and we bought the tomatoes at, I believe it was the nursery, and they were on sale. I bought a 3-pack of the early girl tomatoes, and I think it was $3.95. The plants were pretty scrawny at the time, and one of them even had a bloom. I was surprised for such a small tomato plant that it would have a bloom. But after we had them in the ground for about a month, which is what you're looking at right now, it started to bloom a lot. And I was tying them up with the jute twine and giving them, well, probably the wrong fertilizer. It was a nitrogen-rich fertilizer, and it had a lot of leaves. I was growing a lot of leaves and a lot of suckers, and I had a lot of blooms.
There are 3 tomato plants here, 2 in 1 bucket. It's a 5-gallon bucket. And these plants have been in here for about 3 months already, since April the 26th. However, 3 days ago, we found some worms in them, and the worms are called hornworms or tomato hornworms.
This is the hornworm. I believe they call it a hornworm caterpillar, and they're fat little suckers, and they do devour tomato plants. It comes from a particular moth.
The tomato hornworms mainly did damage to this particular stem, and it took out about a foot of a full-grown stem. And according to literature, they work from the top of the stem all the way to the bottom. It also ate some blossoms off the trunk, and as you can see here, the leaves are stripped. And 2 or 3 of these large worms of about 5 inches will strip your whole plant if you have not noticed it.
This moth only visits certain times of the year.
This is another area that the worms also damaged. As you can see here, there are leaves that had been eaten off, but the plant seems to be recovering, so that's good news. As you can see here, I have caged the fruit itself with organza wrapping, and this one is made very loosely. It is sewn and then had tied string at the base of it. It's really a gift bag or pattern after a gift bag. I made this one, and this is to keep moths from boring through the young fruit. And I made about 4 of these. Here's another view of the bag that I made, and here you can see the fruit would have room to grow in, and it would have ventilation. This is loosely sewn together, and the light can pass through, but the bugs in here is screened out. And this is tied loosely to let air circulation in. And here are views of a larger tomato fruit that has been wrapped and caged on the organza packaging. There's extra netting here to keep the birds from coming in and pecking through the fabric. And here is another view of another tomato package. And here's the tomato. And the red yarn here ties to the stem, and it is loosely tied to let air circulation again to pass through.
So after we got rid of the hornworm caterpillar, I started to get tomatoes, At first I had trouble with the blossom setting because it was so hot. We had temperatures in the 100-degree range, sometimes above 100 degrees. But it was getting better, and we were getting some tomatoes, not too big, but nevertheless tomatoes, and I was pretty happy about it. I was accustomed to picking tomatoes when they were red because I thought that's the best way to do it. But my wife explained to me that if I let the tomato get red, totally red on the vine, that it would fool the tomato plant into not producing any more blooms or tomatoes. Naturally, in this case, what you're looking at is a pretty ripe tomato, but it kind of snuck past me. And when I finally caught up with it, I decided that it was time to pull it. I actually tried to cut it off with a pair of shears. It worked well, but I think just pulling the tomato might have been an easier job. I was very proud of this tomato. No, it's not perfect, but still homegrown. I know it would taste good. So I went ahead and snipped the other tomato. Amazing, my second tomato of the year. Now this is the early girl variety, but the tomato plant was really growing, and this shows me tying it up with jute so that it would help support the weight of the tomato vine. And I was tying it up to the arbor that we have. It was growing under the arbor, which it actually needed because the sun out here is so bright and so hot that the arbor did provide some shade for the plant. And here's my little harvest from the garden. I had some zucchini, tomatoes, and Malabar spinach. And let's not forget the oriental green beans. And this is my salad. This is what our salad looks like. And the garden worked out really well for us.